But for the most part, you're going to have three categories of Bitcoin treasury companies. You're going to have the pure play digital credit issuers that are laser-like focused. Our company, a Metaplanet, someone like probably a Strive, I'm going to guess. Someone with a lot of equity capital that's going to just sell equity and pure credit, and they're going to be laser-like focused. They're going to 100x or 1,000x. Those are going to be the screaming equity winners. Those are going to be the next Mag 7 stocks, right? Those are companies that can go from $1 billion to $100 billion or to $1 trillion, right? Then you're going to have the strong Bitcoin players. Maybe they're not the single dominant player in their market, but they're strong Bitcoin. They got a lot of stuff going on. They'll 10x, 20x. They'll be good. They'll win, but they won't be the next Mag 7.
Are they issuing credit, or what's kind of that?
They'll be like, companies that are very, they buy a lot of Bitcoin and do some. It's not their laser like 150% focus, but they'll do some, and they'll be strong performers.
Right.
And then you'll have companies that just buy some Bitcoin. And they'll buy some Bitcoin and they'll have another business. And over time, the other business may trade sideways, and the Bitcoin will actually support the equity market cap of the company. And so they're the ones that can't lose. But because they're not 100% focused on Bitcoin, because they have another business, they have other liabilities, they'll grind up with the S&P and they'll be successful even if their core business doesn't work. Right. But they'll still be, low risk, maybe they'll be a 2, 3, 4xer. Right. And I think you'll see all of that. And it all comes down to the conviction of the management team and the business model. If you're saying, well, what would I like to be? What you'd like to be is a pure play Bitcoin treasury company that issues equity and issues high quality Bitcoin credit. And you want to own that capital market. You want to be the category killer in the UK, in France, in Brazil, in Norway, in Japan, in the US, in Canada, right? In Germany, in Italy. The home champion is always going to have a home court. The national champion will have a home court advantage. You're going to have tax advantages, issuance advantages, regulatory advantages, marketing advantages, language, cultural advantages, and focus advantage, right? When you get up and you issued the first digital credit instrument in pounds, your smarter web, and you're doing 100-pound perpetual Bitcoin-backed credit in London. Or then you do in euros on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, right? Or you do it in yen in Tokyo, right? At that point, you're selling the strongest, highest yielding credit instrument in a capital market that's got garbage. Like, go to Switzerland. You know what the yield is for short-term money in Switzerland? It's negative. Okay? You have $10 million, you put it in a Swiss bank, they take money away from you. In fact, the yields are negative out to 4 years on the yield curve. Okay, so the risk-free cost of capital is literally less than zero. A Swiss company with Bitcoin capital selling something that pays you 400 basis points in Swiss francs is offering 4 or 5% more than everything else. And okay, well, there's like $800 billion that's getting eaten. Why wouldn't that capital just start to flow, right? So why couldn't you issue $10 billion of Swiss franc backed credit?
Yeah.
And if you basically have a cost of funds of 5% in Swiss francs, and you're investing in Bitcoin returning 50%, think about how fast you can grow that business. You become the greatest Swiss, bank, right? You'll become the greatest Swiss financial company in the entire nation, and you do it in a matter of 5 years. So you could become the strategy of Switzerland, except you can do better than us. We got from 600 million to 120 billion or whatever, 110 billion depending on the day. We got there in 5 years, but we had to learn as we went along. We had to experiment, and we had to go through, 20 different credit, issuances, and we had to discard a lot of stuff. If you were doing it from scratch today, you would just skip the first, 4 years. I would say, like, here, I already give you the answer. You raise equity capital, you buy Bitcoin, you put 100% of it into Bitcoin, and then you sell a Bitcoin-backed money market, a short duration credit instrument that just strips the duration to 1 month, strips the volatility, right? Strips the delta, and just give people 500 basis points more yield than the risk-free rate in the capital market where you're selling the credit. And you could literally have a company with one credit instrument trading publicly and one equity instrument, rinse and repeat, and you're going to grow as fast as you can educate the capital market that you're selling into, right? And you could, in theory, do what we did, but you could do it in half the time or a third of the time. It all comes down to how charismatic is the leader of the company? Are they trusted? Is the brand trusted? Or are they laser-like focused?
Yeah.